My name is Frank Delaney, and at 78 years old, I thought I'd seen every kind of manipulation there was. After 35 years teaching psychology at Northwestern University, I'd studied human behavior patterns, written papers on elder abuse, and counseled countless students about recognizing toxic relationships. What I never expected was to become a case study myself. It started with a simple fall in my Lincoln Park home last October. Nothing dramatic. I slipped on some wet leaves while bringing in the mail, twisted my ankle, and found myself moving a bit slower than usual. My late wife Margaret used to joke that I was too stubborn to admit I needed help with anything. She was right, as usual. But when my son David called from Denver and my daughter Sarah drove up from Springfield after hearing about the fall, I could see the worry in their eyes. "Dad, we think you need someone here," Sarah said over coffee in my kitchen. "Just temporarily until you're fully mobile again." David nodded from where he sat across from us. "We've been talking and Carla's available. You remember Cousin Carla, right? Aunt Helen's daughter?" I remembered Carla Hensley, 31 years old, recently unemployed from her job as a nursing assistant at a facility in Peoria, and according to family gossip, struggling financially after a messy divorce. She was technically my niece. Helen was my late wife's sister, but we'd only seen each other at family gatherings over the years. "She has nursing assistant experience," Sarah continued, "and since she's family, we thought it would be perfect. We can pay her a fair weekly wage and she can stay in the guest room upstairs." The arrangement seemed logical. Carla arrived the following Monday morning with 2 suitcases and a warm smile. "Uncle Frank," she said, hugging me carefully. "I'm so glad I can help. Don't you worry about a thing, I'll take great care of you." If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video, and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. For the first 3 days, Carla was everything my children had hoped for. She helped me navigate the stairs more safely, prepared nutritious meals in my kitchen, and seemed genuinely concerned about my recovery. She'd ask about my medication schedule, remind me to use my walking cane around the house, and even engaged me in conversations about my teaching days at Northwestern. I began to think my children had made an excellent choice. But by Thursday of that first week, subtle changes started appearing. When my neighbor, Mrs. Peterson from next door, came by with homemade soup, Carla answered my front door. "Oh, Uncle Frank is resting right now," I heard her say from my study. "He's having a tough day with his ankle. Maybe you could come back later this week?" I wasn't resting. I was reading the Chicago Tribune at my desk and feeling perfectly fine. When I walked to the front door using my cane, Mrs. Peterson was already driving away down the street. "She seemed concerned about tiring you out," Carla explained when I asked. "I thought it would be better if you got your rest instead of entertaining visitors." The next incident happened Friday morning when my old colleague, Professor Martinez, called my landline. Carla answered from the kitchen. "Mr. Delaney can't come to the phone right now," she said in a tone that suggested I was incapacitated. "Can I take a message?" "Carla," I said after she hung up the phone, "I'm perfectly capable of answering my own calls." She looked concerned, walking over to where I sat in my recliner. "Of course, Uncle Frank. I was just trying to help. You know how exhausting long conversations can be when you're recovering from a fall." I wasn't exhausted, and I certainly wasn't incapable of having a conversation. But I decided to observe rather than confront immediately. Something about her behavior reminded me of case studies I'd read about caregiver manipulation. The gradual assumption of control disguised as helpful assistance. By the beginning of the second week, Carla's control tactics became more systematic. On Monday morning, she appeared with a locked weekly pill dispenser. "Uncle Frank, I've organized all your medications," she announced, showing me the compartments. "This way you won't accidentally double-dose anything." She pocketed the small key. The problem was, I'd been managing my blood pressure medication and vitamin supplements perfectly fine for years without any confusion. When David called Tuesday evening to check on me, Carla intercepted the call in the kitchen. "He's doing okay, but he's been a bit forgetful lately," I heard her tell him while I sat in my study. "Nothing serious, just some confusion about daily routines. It's normal for his age." Forgetful? Confused? I had just finished reading a complex research paper on behavioral psychology that morning and had balanced my checkbook to the penny the day before. But when I walked to the kitchen to get on the phone, Carla was already hanging up. "David was in a hurry," she said, placing the handset back in its cradle. "He just wanted a quick update on your recovery." The financial control started Wednesday with a helpful offer. Carla appeared in my study where I was paying bills at my desk. "You have so many statements scattered around here, Uncle Frank," she said, gesturing at my organized papers. "Let me sort these out so you don't get overwhelmed." She began gathering my bank statements, utility bills, and insurance documents from their usual spots. "I've been handling my finances since before you were born," I told her, watching her stack my papers. "Of course you have," she said with that patient smile caregivers use with difficult patients. "But wouldn't it be nice to have someone else worry about the paperwork while you focus on getting better?" Thursday morning, I discovered she'd called First National Bank without asking. "I spoke with them about setting up online access for your checking account," she announced over breakfast. "It'll be so much easier to monitor your expenses and make sure all your bills get paid on time." "I didn't authorize you to call my bank. Uncle Frank, I'm just trying to help streamline things. You shouldn't have to stress about mundane financial details while you're recovering." That same afternoon, I noticed she'd been through my desk drawers in the study. Papers were in different positions than I'd left them, and my important documents folder had been moved from the bottom drawer to the top. When I confronted her, she claimed she was organizing everything to make it more accessible. I realized I was dealing with something far more serious than overzealous caregiving. This was systematic isolation and financial manipulation. Textbook elder abuse patterns I'd studied extensively in my academic work. The woman my children trusted to care for me was methodically taking control of my life. But instead of confronting her directly or calling my children immediately, I decided to use my professional knowledge strategically. If Carla thought she was dealing with a confused, helpless old man, I'd let her believe exactly that while I gathered evidence. Friday morning, I started my performance. When Carla brought me breakfast in the kitchen, I stared at the glass of orange juice for a long moment, then looked genuinely puzzled. "Is this my morning medication?" I asked. Her eyes lit up with interest. "No, Uncle Frank, that's just orange juice. Your pills are right here in the dispenser." She showed me the locked container on the counter. "Oh, right," I said, shaking my head as if clearing mental fog. Sometimes I get things mixed up. Over the weekend, I carefully constructed the persona of a man experiencing mild cognitive decline. I'd forget the names of neighbors who called, ask repeated questions about what day it was, and occasionally seem disoriented about simple tasks. Nothing dramatic enough to alarm my children if they called, but enough to make Carla believe she was dealing with someone who couldn't possibly threaten her plans. The act worked perfectly. By Monday of the third week, Carla became noticeably bolder. She started answering my front door as if she owned the house, telling visitors I was having a bad day or not feeling up to company. She took over all my phone calls, presenting herself as my primary caregiver and decision-maker to anyone who called. Meanwhile, I was secretly documenting everything. I kept a detailed journal hidden in my bedroom dresser, recording every manipulation, every lie, every boundary she crossed. I noted the exact times she intercepted calls, the specific claims she made about my mental state, and the progressive way she assumed control over my personal affairs. More importantly, I contacted my attorney, Arthur Hayes, who'd handled my legal matters for 20 years. I called him Tuesday afternoon during Carla's grocery run, using my cell phone that she didn't know I kept in my bedroom. "Arthur," I said quietly, "I need your help with a delicate situation." I explained everything to Arthur. The systematic manipulation, the financial control attempts, the isolation tactics. Arthur listened with growing concern from his downtown Chicago office. "Frank, this sounds like textbook elder abuse," he said. "We need to document everything meticulously and be prepared to act quickly if she escalates to actual fraud." "That's exactly what I'm doing," I replied. "But I need you to quietly monitor any attempts to access my accounts or change legal documents. Can you set up alerts with the bank and county recorder's office?" "Absolutely. I'll contact First National tomorrow and flag your accounts. I'll also arrange for discreet surveillance equipment if you think that would help build a case." Wednesday morning, Arthur's associate delivered a small package during Carla's absence. Inside were 3 tiny wireless cameras that I carefully installed in key locations. One in the kitchen where she made most of her phone calls, one in my study where she went through my papers, and one in the living room where she met with visitors. Carla never suspected that the slightly confused old man she was manipulating was actually building an airtight legal case against her. The cameras captured everything over the next several days. Carla systematically searching through my personal papers when she thought I was napping upstairs. Her phone conversations with someone, I later learned it was her ex-husband, discussing the old man's assets and how he won't be around forever anyway. She even filmed herself walking through my house, commenting on valuable items like she was conducting an inventory for future sale. "This antique desk alone is worth at least $5,000, she said to her phone camera in my study. "And look at this art collection he's got hanging everywhere. Uncle Frank has no idea what he's sitting on here." But the most damning evidence came during the 4th week. I maintained my confused act perfectly, asking simple questions and seeming increasingly dependent on her guidance. The more helpless I appeared, the more brazen Carla became. "Uncle Frank," she said Thursday morning over breakfast in the kitchen, "I've been thinking about your financial situation. All these bills and bank statements, it's getting overwhelming for someone your age. What if I took over managing everything? I could handle your checking account, pay your bills, make sure nothing important gets missed." I blinked slowly, as if processing the suggestion with difficulty. "I don't know. Margaret always said I should be careful about money matters. But, Uncle Frank, Margaret isn't here anymore to help you, and your children are so far away in Denver and Springfield. I'm here every day, seeing how confused you get with all these numbers and forms. Let me help you properly. I'll take care of everything." "You really think that's what's best?" I asked, playing the uncertain elderly man perfectly. "I know it is," she said firmly. "Tomorrow I'll drive you down to First National. We'll add my name to your accounts as a joint holder, just so I can help manage your finances day to day. It's completely normal for caregivers to have account access." That evening, while Carla was in her upstairs room, I called Arthur from my bedroom. "She's making her move," I whispered. "Tomorrow she wants to take me to the bank to add her name to my checking account." "Don't let her do it," Arthur said immediately. "Once her name is on those accounts, that's where this becomes criminal fraud." "Oh, I'm definitely going," I replied. "But you're going to be there first thing in the morning to alert Mrs. Rodriguez about what's happening. I want every moment of this documented by bank personnel." Friday morning, Carla helped me into her car, with exaggerated care, treating me like a complete invalid. "Don't worry about anything, Uncle Frank," she said as we drove downtown. "I'll do all the talking with the bank people. You just need to sign where they tell you to." At First National, the branch manager, Mrs. Rodriguez, greeted us with professional courtesy but knowing eyes. Arthur had clearly briefed her well the night before. "Mr. Delaney," she said from behind her desk, "I understand you'd like to make some changes to your banking arrangements?" I played my part perfectly, looking uncertain and glancing at Carla for guidance. I'm not really sure what this is about. Carla says it would make things easier. It will definitely make things easier, Carla interrupted from the chair beside me. Uncle Frank gets very confused about financial matters these days. As his full-time caregiver, I need account access to help manage his bills and daily expenses. Mrs. Rodriguez nodded slowly, making careful notes. I see. Mr. Delaney, adding someone to your accounts is a very significant change. Are you absolutely certain this is what you want to do? I hesitated convincingly, looking genuinely uncertain. Well, if Carla thinks it's necessary, it is necessary, Carla said quickly, leaning forward in her chair. Where exactly do we sign, Mrs. Rodriguez pulled out the required forms, but I could see her making detailed notes, documenting Carla's pushiness and my apparent cognitive uncertainty. Mr. Delaney, I'll need your signature here and here, she said, pointing to specific lines on the paperwork. I picked up the pen, then set it down, looking confused. What exactly am I signing again? Just some simple paperwork so I can help you better, Carla said impatiently. Go ahead and sign where she showed you. But I shook my head slowly. I think I should talk to my children about this first. Or maybe Arthur Hayes. Margaret always said never sign anything important without reading it carefully. Carla's mask slipped for just a moment. I saw real frustration flash across her face before she recovered her patient caregiver expression. Uncle Frank, your children specifically asked me to help you with these kinds of decisions. They're busy with their own lives in Denver and Springfield. No, I said with the stubborn uncertainty of someone genuinely confused. I think I need more time to think about this. Mrs. Rodriguez smoothly intervened. Mr. Delaney, there's absolutely no rush with important financial decisions. Why don't you take these forms home? Review them carefully and come back when you feel completely ready. Carla was visibly frustrated as we left First National empty-handed, but she couldn't push too aggressively without revealing her true motives. During the drive back to Lincoln Park, she tried a different approach. Uncle Frank, I'm really worried about you, she said, gripping the steering wheel. These moments of confusion are getting more frequent. Maybe we should schedule an appointment with Dr. Patterson to get you evaluated for memory issues. I understood her strategy immediately. If she could get a doctor to declare me mentally incompetent, she could pursue legal guardianship and gain complete control over my finances and property. It was a sophisticated plan that would have worked perfectly on an actually confused elderly man. Maybe you're right, I said sadly from the passenger seat. I do feel mixed up about things sometimes. That evening I reviewed the camera footage from our bank visit on my laptop in the bedroom. Carla's impatience, her attempts to rush me through signing, her dismissal of my legitimate concerns. It was all recorded in high definition, but she wasn't finished with her scheme. Saturday morning, she made a phone call from the kitchen that she thought I couldn't hear from upstairs. "I need to speed this whole thing up," she told her ex-husband. "The old man is more stubborn than I expected, but he's definitely losing it mentally. Yes, I know about the house. That's the real prize here. A Lincoln Park property worth at least $800,000. That phone call revealed her ultimate target. Carla wasn't just after my bank accounts. She wanted my house. The property Margaret and I had bought in 1987 for $180,000, now worth nearly $800,000 according to recent assessments. Over the weekend, I let Carla believe her incompetency plan was working. I acted increasingly confused, asked repeated questions about simple things, and even pretended to forget her name once. "I'm sorry," I said Sunday morning, looking at her with genuine seeming bewilderment. "You're the nice lady who helps me, right?" "Yes, Uncle Frank, I'm Carla, your niece. I'm here to take care of you." "Of course," I said, nodding slowly. "Sometimes I forget important things." Monday morning, she called Dr. Patterson's office. "I need to schedule a cognitive evaluation for my uncle," she told the receptionist. "He's showing clear signs of dementia, and the family is very concerned about his safety." But what Carla didn't know was that Dr. Patterson had been my physician for 15 years. When his office called to confirm the appointment, I privately explained the real situation. "Doctor, this woman is trying to manipulate a competency evaluation to gain control of my assets," I told him during a brief phone call Tuesday. "I need you to conduct a legitimate assessment that will document my actual mental state." "Frank, this is clearly elder abuse," Dr. Patterson said immediately. "We should report this to Adult Protective Services." "Not yet," I replied. "I want to catch her in the act of actual fraud first. When she brings me in, please conduct a thorough evaluation and document that I'm completely competent. I'll need that evidence for the legal case." Meanwhile, Arthur had been monitoring all my financial accounts and property records for suspicious activity. Wednesday morning, he called with urgent news. "Frank, someone attempted to initiate a property deed transfer on your house yesterday evening. The request was submitted online using forged documents claiming you have severe dementia and listing Carla Hensley as your legal guardian. This was the evidence I needed to end Carla's scheme permanently. Can you stop the transfer?" "Already done. I flagged it as fraudulent and notified the county recorder's office immediately. But Frank, we need to act now. This is felony fraud, forgery, and elder abuse." Thursday morning, I maintained my confused act while Carla prepared for what she thought would be her final victory. She'd apparently scheduled a follow-up deed transfer appointment for that afternoon, assuming the forged guardianship documents would eventually be accepted. "Uncle Frank," she said sweetly over lunch in the kitchen, "we're going to take care of some important paperwork this afternoon. Just some boring legal stuff about the house. You don't need to worry about understanding any of it. Okay." I said with vacant compliance. "Whatever you think is best for me." At exactly 2 p.m., Arthur arrived at my front door with 2 Chicago police officers. I had positioned myself in my living room recliner, where the hidden cameras could capture everything. Carla was in the kitchen, on her phone with someone, actually discussing how to celebrate after the old man finally signs over the house. Arthur knocked firmly. Carla answered with her usual caregiver authority, blocking the doorway. "I'm sorry," she said, "but Mr. Delaney can't have visitors today. He's having a particularly bad day mentally." "I'm Arthur Hayes, Mr. Delaney's attorney," Arthur said formally. "These are Officers Martinez and Thompson with the Chicago Police Department. We need to speak with both you and Mr. Delaney immediately regarding suspected fraud." The color drained completely from Carla's face, but she tried desperately to maintain control. "Uncle Frank is very confused today. He really can't understand legal matters or make decisions." That's when I stood up from my recliner, walked to the front door with perfect composure and balance, and spoke in my clearest, most authoritative professor voice. "Actually, Carla, I understand legal matters perfectly well. Gentlemen, please come in. I believe you'll find everything you need to arrest this woman for attempted fraud, elder abuse, and document forgery." The look on Carla's face was worth 35 years of teaching psychology. Complete shock, followed by desperate mental calculation, then the dawning realization that she'd been completely outmaneuvered by the confused old man she'd been manipulating. "Uncle Frank, what are you talking about?" she stammered. "You've been so confused and forgetful lately." Arthur opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick manila folder. "Ms. Hensley, we have 4 weeks of recorded video evidence showing your systematic attempts to manipulate and defraud Mr. Delaney. Hidden cameras captured your conversations about his assets, your attempts to forge guardianship documents, and your specific plan to illegally transfer his property to yourself." Officer Martinez stepped forward with handcuffs. "Carla Hensley, you're under arrest for attempted grand theft, elder abuse, fraud, and forgery." As they read her Miranda rights, Carla made one last desperate appeal. "This is completely insane. I was taking care of him. He needed my help." "No," I said calmly, watching from my doorway. "You needed money and you thought you could steal it from a confused old man. Unfortunately for you, I was never confused. Just disappointed that someone from our own family would stoop to elder abuse." Within 3 hours, David and Sarah had driven in from Denver and Springfield, respectively. They were shocked and horrified when Arthur showed them the camera footage of Carla systematically going through my belongings and discussing my assets like she already owned them. "Dad," Sarah said, tears in her eyes as we sat in my living room. "We had no idea what she was really doing. We thought we were helping you." "You were trying to help," I assured her. "But some people see family trust as opportunity, and kindness as weakness to be exploited." The legal consequences for Carla were severe and swift. She was formally charged with multiple felonies, including attempted grand theft, elder abuse, fraud, and document forgery. Her nursing assistant license was permanently revoked by the state, and she faced up to 10 years in Illinois State Prison. More importantly, word of her crimes spread quickly through our extended family, ensuring she'd never again have access to vulnerable elderly relatives. 4 months later, I'm living completely independently in my Lincoln Park home, managing my own finances without any assistance and enjoying regular visits from neighbors and old colleagues without interference. I hired a legitimate home health aide through a licensed agency, someone properly bonded and background checked, who helps with housework twice a week, but never presumes to control any aspect of my personal life. This experience reinforced something I'd taught my psychology students for decades. Predators rely entirely on their victims remaining silent and isolated. By carefully documenting everything and seeking proper legal assistance, I turned Carla's own manipulation tactics against her completely. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive alerts for new stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.